He busted out of his slump by going 4 for 5 from 3. Meanwhile, Kyrie got cold from 3, turned the ball over at the end of the game, while Luka told the media the loss was on him. So, Brew, which player is under the most pressure tonight?
I'd be shocked if you two didn't agree with me. It's Karl Anthony Towns.
No, I disagree.
Really? Like, to me, it is clear on him. We know Anthony Edwards is obviously their best player. But if he struggles, yeah, he'll catch a little flack. But you know what? Eventually, everybody will come around. He's 22. He's learning. He got him to the conference finals, all right? So he will be fine. Karl Anthony Towns is the one that all summer, I don't think he will get traded if they lose. But he's going to have to hear the rumors. They will be out there. They might listen to some teams. I don't know if they'll shop him a little bit.
What would a trade even look like?
Well, I don't think he will get traded. A lot of people are talking. That's why I don't think they do it. And look, Cat is 29. Is he 29? He's still young. He's never been past the first round until this year. So I think they'll look at it like, look, he can learn as well, and they just got to work with him to stop making the dumb fouls. And look, I'll say that the numbers are clear. I said it yesterday: 7-1 when he gets 18 or more points, 2-5 when he scores under 18. But here's the interesting thing, Nick. When he scores more, he fouls more. So I don't know if that's related. It seems like that would be related to level of aggression. In the 7 games or 8 games where he's had 18 or more points, all of them he had at least 4 fouls. All right, one of them he fouled out just the recent game, and 3 times he had 5 fouls. In the games he goes under 18 points, in 4 of them, he is 7 games. In 4 of them, he only had 2 fouls.
That's interesting.
And only one he had 4.
So he's just like
and
not
it's like he gets less.
Or is it
less
just like
aggressive.
an offensive? I mean, I know you don't have put you on the spot, but I wonder if it's like an offensive foul.
Well, he gets every type of foul.
Sometimes he gets right. He gets silly fouls.
It felt like in this game where he fouled out, he had 5 totally different types of fouls. But
I thought it was Ant. So here's Ant's numbers that we broke down: games 1 and 2 versus games 3 and 4. That he felt like he was coming on. But you're like, oh, good. He's now at his peak. Except in the Phoenix series, he scored 33, 36, and 40. In Denver, granted they were losses, scored 43 and 44. And in this series, he's yet to score 30. He's at 29. He's been knocking on the door. But are we going to see an amazing performance, or are we going to see 25 and 7?
So okay, I want to let Nick go, but I just want to say first off, if Nick doesn't say Luka, and if they don't say Luka, then that is one of the most insane, most inconsistencies I've seen in a long time. And there's been a lot lately. There's been a lot. But it is absolutely undeniably Luka, especially if we're saying that Luka is the best player in this series and potentially the best player in the finals as a whole right now, which we know Nick believes to be true. Because if it was LeBron, all the pressure would be LeBron. And we know that all the pressure was on why can't I think of his name? Jokic. All the pressure was on Jokic. So all the pressure right now has to be on Luka, because Luka no longer has age as a get-out-of-jail-free card. We can say that about Ant. Ant is 22 years old. He is still going through puberty. His brain is still truly not developed yet. It's not fully developed. Okay? His body is still being flooded with hormones, and his body is still growing and maturing. He is not a grown, mature adult who's been playing. He's out of gas too. That's the one that I've witnessed. He's out of gas. And it just goes to show you, like, that happens. That's why we know that even LeBron James over the years has started to get out of gas, because Ant has not done this. He hasn't played this long really ever in his entire career. This is the first time that he's actually making this extended run. So he has plenty of excuses. I've said this before the playoffs even started, that Ant has an excuse because he's only 22 years old. Now, listen, I thought that Ant would be playing better. I kind of really got lost in some of the hype because I do think Ant is an unbelievable player, but I think he's even abandoning his mid-range game, which I think he shouldn't. But you see that a lot with players that are tired. They just want to kind of stay by the 3. He's definitely just doing 3 or dunk at this point, even though his mid-range has been deadly. I get saying that there's pressure on Cat. I do, but Cat's not the number 1. So, right. I think if Cat plays pretty good, then there's no pressure on him. I think if he plays bad, then the pressure's not on him, but the spotlight is on him, which is different. There's not pressure for Cat to like carry this load. There wasn't pressure on Klay Thompson. The pressure was on Steph Curry. There's a huge difference there. The pressure wasn't on Scottie Pippen. it was on Michael Jordan. And that's where Luka lies, because that's why Luka even surpasses Kyrie. Because I think technically there's a lot of pressure on Kyrie as well, because Kyrie has actually won a ring. He's been there, and he's actually grown and mature, right? He is the adult in the room, or at least he should be. But Luka is clearly the number one player. And Luka has already been here before. And Luka has already got knocked out. And Luka they were 3-0. So the pressure's on Luka, because if Luka does not close this door and actually close out this series, it's all on Luka. It's quite honestly. It would be more about Luka and less how great the Minnesota Timberwolves actually are. Honestly, at this point of me watching this series, before I thought if the Timberwolves won, it was going to be because the Mavericks are just not good enough and the Timberwolves are just too good. But now seeing how the series unfolded, if they don't clear this out, if they don't end this, then to me, that pressure and that responsibility falls back on Luka. Even though Luka is obviously pretty young as well, but I just think, heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? That and this is when Nick called out everyone who was trying to give the benefit of the doubt to Jokic, where he says, you have to blame Jokic for the loss of the Denver Nuggets. You have to. And I said, no, that's not necessarily that fair. I mean, the Timberwolves were so good. What did you want? What did you want Jokic to do? And I defended Jokic, quite honestly. But in this situation, being up 3-0, and if they end up losing the series, right, being the first team to ever drop to lose a 3-0 series, that would have to be on Luka. Unless Ant completely unleashes, and Cat for that matter, right? For the next 3 games in a row, Ant averages 40+ points a game, and Cat is playing out of his mind. Then you could say, okay, the Timberwolves just were on fire. Who could stop them? I can't blame Luka for that. They just ran into a juggernaut. Then I could say that. But if these games continue to go in this back and forth, close, tight games, and Luka's just unable to close it out, then I think that blame goes on Luka. Unless he plays great and Kyrie just plays awful, and he's only averaging like 5-10 points a game, then you could probably put some of that blame. But I just think before we know any of the circumstances at all, because blame and pressure are 2 different things. The pressure is on Luka. Just like how I think the pressure was on Jokic before, but even though they lost, I don't put the blame on Jokic. You understand what I'm saying? So let's see what Nick has to say.
It's like, oh, great, but stop with the Kobe Jordan stuff. Okay. I know he's 22. Yeah, then stop with the Jordan.
No, hold on.
But but you can't. Then stop.
Wait, hold on.
Then why are people doing it?
Because, hold on, real quick. Because they know that Michael Jordan didn't win a playoff series until he was 26 years old.
How old was Michael Jordan when he scored 63 against the Celtics?
He was 24 years old.
Okay, so in 2 years.
That was right.
But he was very. How many years in the league was he?
Answer me this: when people compare,
that's what I want.
When people compare him to Jordan,
college. What is he talking about?
Do you think they're actually saying he will be in the GOAT conversation? No. I don't think he'll ever be in the GOAT conversation.
To me, it was similar to when it happened with Kawhi a couple postseasons ago. When they were not comparing him to early Jordan like they are with Anthony Edwards. They were comparing him to second three-peat Jordan because of the mid-range game and because of the footwork and all of that. I don't think I think the Jordan comps have been in part because there's that silly split screen on the internet where they cut their faces down the middle and you feel like some facial similarities.
But now I got a Kobe comp coming out of nowhere. I just went on the like, now he's Kobe too.
Was similar to Jordan
right, but they are.
So angry.
I don't think people are saying Anthony Edwards is going to be, like you said, in the discussion or in a lot of people's eyes, the clear greatest player ever. I do think, though, that it is absolutely fair to talk about, hey, guys at 22, who have been the best 22-year-olds? He is, even if they get rolled tonight, in that conversation.
For the best 22-year-old ever?
Of the list of the best 22-year-olds. I'm doing a little mini project on it. I know what they are. LeBron is, from a team success standpoint, is the best guy, the clear head of the class.
I would say Magic.
Well, Matt is the best guy, I said. If you think Magic was the best guy, I think Kareem was. But that's
best on his team?
Best guy on his team. But so Magic and Kobe, as the second best guy, massive team success. They had won multiple championships by the time they were 22 years old. Other than that, it's like Amari Stoudemire with the Suns had an unbelievable run when he was 22. Kevin Durant made a conference finals when he was 22, right in line with this. It's not a long list. So that's the Anthony Edwards stuff. So I agree with you, Brew. I don't think he is under really any pressure tonight. I think he is on a free roll part of it.
Wow.
Because of his age and because they have already overachieved by beating a team that some said no one was going to beat in a 7-game series. I think that.
And you all say I never agree with Nick Wright. We're agreeing right now, but I want to see who he's going to say. There's only not even a minute left of this clip. Like, who's going to be under the most pressure?
That was their mini championship. I think it is clearly Karl Anthony Towns. And I heard all those numbers Bruce said. And do you know what stuck out to me the most? Wait a minute. There have been 7 games this postseason. This guy hasn't cracked 18 points.
Right.
Half the games, he hasn't cracked 18 points. I went back, that NBA GM survey. Mm-hmm. They have been, who do you want to start a franchise with? They've done it.
That was a while, yeah.
Well, but hold on a second. So LeBron won it 8 times. Giannis has won it 4. Duncan 3. And then Shaq won it once. Anthony Davis won it once. Joker won it the most recently. Here are the 2-time winners of it. I mean, you've heard those names. Kevin Durant, Luka, and Karl Anthony Towns won it in consecutive seasons.
Yeah, that was like a hot topic for some reason.
It wasn't for some reason. It was because as a freshman at Kentucky, he had multiple quadruple doubles. It was because he was the number 1.
Okay, that's the end of the clip. Unfortunately, it cuts off there. Listen, I'm not saying that there's no pressure on Cat. I'm not saying that at all. But I just don't get the inconsistency in that regard, because we always say that the pressure is on the best player. We always say that. Nick always says that. I mean, that's why he went on a whole rant of we need to hold Jokic accountable. And a lot of people said, well, that's because he's a Jokic hater and he just wants to try to find anything to. And he went ballistic on it. Seriously, he went nuts. He goes, if this was LeBron James, we would all be putting all the pressure on him. And then when they asked the question, who's there more pressure on? I think this was during the play-in tournament, I think, when it was LeBron James versus Zion. And they said, who's there more pressure on? And he said, on LeBron. And a lot of other people said, Zion. And I said, Zion. I said, not LeBron. I said, LeBron's already done everything. And I said, yes, for maybe some of the GOAT conversations out there, for sure. But I said, this is on Zion. There's more pressure on Zion. Can he finally become what he's meant to be, what he's supposed to be, what people hope him to become? And Nick went out and said that the pressure is always on LeBron. Well, people are trying to argue that Luka is better than LeBron. When you look at the numbers, and I think numbers are always misleading because sports evolve, especially offensive numbers, but Luka has better numbers. I just saw this recently, better numbers in the same amount of games, whether it was the playoffs or whether it was regular season, I forget exactly, than LeBron. That he's on a higher trajectory than LeBron. And so if that's the case, then why would the pressure not be on Luka? That's what I don't understand. How is the pressure not on Luka? If the Dallas Mavericks don't close out this series, how does Luka not get the blame as the best player either in the series or at least on the Mavericks? And I believe, and I know, not that I believe, I know that Nick believes that Luka is the best player in this series. So if they lose, how would that blame not go to him, and how would the pressure not be on him right now? If you want to say there's not a lot of pressure on him right now because they're up 3-1, I get it. I can buy that argument. But if you have the most pressure on you tonight, then I think you have the most pressure on you throughout the whole series. I think going into this series, technically, once the Dallas Mavericks established that they can legitimately beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that the Minnesota Timberwolves are not this juggernaut that the Dallas Mavericks happen to be running into, all that pressure goes on Luka. If the Minnesota Timberwolves prove to be this absolute juggernaut and they went up 2-0 against the Dallas Mavericks, then I would not put the pressure on Luka or Kyrie. I would say the same thing that I said about Jokic. You just went up against a better team. What are you to do? That just happens. But when LeBron James went with the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Golden State Warriors and lost with Kevin Durant, it's like, what is LeBron James possibly supposed to do there? We're going to blame LeBron James for not scoring 75 points? Like, what are we going to do there? No, you can't blame LeBron or put the pressure on LeBron. There's pressure on LeBron to compete and play great and not have like a 15-point game. Sure, but it's different. And so that's where I think Luka stands at this moment. Minnesota Timberwolves have clearly proven to be beatable, and the Dallas Mavericks have clearly proven to show that they are a legitimate championship contender. So now that is how we are viewing this. And if that's the case, the pressure has to be on Luka. Luka is proving to be the more consistent and best player right now in this series. So the pressure's on him. I really do not see how you could possibly argue otherwise. I really don't. Only if Minnesota Timberwolves flip this switch and they just now unleash. It would actually be better for the Minnesota Timberwolves to win these next 3 games by 20 points than lose close games. Because then you could say the Timberwolves just got off to a slow start. They were clearly the superior team. They unleashed. They're going to win the championship. Who could stop them? But if they lose a bunch of close games, then you could say, well, then Luka should have done more, right? So, but those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Who do you think has the most pressure? Do you think it's Kat? Do you think it's Ant, Kyrie, Luka, a coach, someone else? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.